Roll call there. Sue Beal. Here. Jim Schrader is absent. Tom Turk is absent. Jeff Benzali.
Yes, ma'am.
Kim Sears Hacker. Isaiah Crowe.
Here.
And I'm Hughes.
Proof of posting, please stand for the pledge of allegiance. Pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you.
Move to approve the agenda.
Second.
Second.
Second. Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Move to approve the meeting minutes of March 20th.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Let's see. I have, it sounded like a very good discussion on the policy. I came in a part of it. Good talking, good communications. Good to see. The other thing, please vote tomorrow. Mark.
Just was talking to Brad Simonson from HSR, the architect that was here. Just asking for feedback. He also was asking if we had any more questions or any other research that he would like to have done. He's planning to be here on April 14th to provide a more detailed presentation based on conversations, but if people have questions or something they would like him to look into, he was more than willing to do so.
Contact him directly.
Let me know and I'll send it. Yep.
Okay. Anything else?
No, nothing.
Okay. Committee updates, public government relations from March 24th.
Jim and Tom are gone, so I'm just going to fill in a little bit. We spoke with Pasta. She's going to do like a 50-year theme for next year. We're possibly thinking of doing a banner. Anything else, Pasta?
The cover of our handbooks will reflect it as well.
And then we are, working with the school and working with the community
Okay.
on some homecoming events. So.
Good. Policy committee meeting of tonight.
Lots covered. We went and split Cheryl's position into two. We approved the director of curriculum instruction job description and the director of people services job description, which we'll bring forward. Talking about the use of facilities. We're talking about, again, we're going to be investigating coaches' keys, community group use versus coaches' access. Also possibly accessing a fob or having a fob system up at the weight room, so we kind of know who's coming and going in there, so it eliminates a set of actual physical keys, and we can change it to a card. Also, there was a redundancy policy in 830 that we're going to change and bring forward. We are also looking at changing the language in the controlled substance abuse to an electronic nicotine delivery system based on things that I've come across as a teacher and an educator, as well as looking at some of the information kids get for designer drugs now. And then we will be reviewing again, we can get a chance to get to the district use of technology and the discussion on claims we'll be doing in the future.
Busy night.
Very busy. Good discussion. Thanks all for looking.
Well, thank you. Public input, Mr. Stotts.
Well, if you'll answer me after the meeting, I'll just leave it at that.
Okay. Okay, that sounds good. Thank you. Alrighty, district business, employee satisfaction survey.
Want to introduce Bob Butler from WSB. He has done several of these presentations. I don't know how long you've been with WSB. 24 years. 24 years. So I'm going to turn around here. Thanks, Bob.
Well, I'll tell you a little bit of myself. I'm Bob Butler, I'm Associate Executive Director of Staff Council of the School Board Association. And what I was asked to come here tonight to talk to you about is to show you, this is a sample survey that you can do of your staff. And how it would start is that each employee, and these questions can all be modified, but is basically emailed a survey document. And you provide us with the email list that goes out, but they then get a link to like a Survey Monkey, and we done a Survey Monkey. So it's similar to that, and so we don't know who filled it out. And that's purposeful, so you get more honest, objective feedback from the staff. That goes out to the employee, And then the employee fills out this demographic information first as to where they're, what position they have, what their work location is, years of service, etc. Then we ask them a myriad of questions. And so what you have is a sample report summary. This is not your district, right? So obviously we haven't surveyed anyone, but it gives you some background as to the various items that we've worked on. When we put this together, we worked with actually the Texas School Board Association, has been doing this for a number of years, and a UW professor, and trying to formulate the survey. And the reason why we did that was we wanted to have someone who had some outside expertise. What do you do when you survey any group? And one of the elements we got back to, well, you want to glean important information, but you also want to have high response rates. And so when you pick your questions, you want to have them such that someone looks at it and says, oh, there's 75 questions here, I don't feel like doing this. And you want to have a response rate of 40 or plus percent, because generally once you get to that level of response rate, even if you got 45 or 60, the trend lines really don't change substantially. When we've done this for districts, we've gotten much, much higher participation rates, meaning the 90 percentile, that employees want to provide feedback. But when I go through these questions here, these are really elements that you could supplement. It's very easy to supplement them, add things in, take things out. You will notice in the report that we don't have ones where people can fill things in a text box. And the reason being behind that is we ran into issues in other survey mechanisms, and so did other entities, that these survey responses are public records. And so you might have someone who puts in a comment on someone, which then we'd have to look at and say, well, we're going to release that, even though that might be a defamatory comment. You might say, you know, Jane Doe is stealing funds. Well, now we have to investigate. We don't know who sent that. We don't want to necessarily publicize that kind of information. So it's really more of a, you click these various items through it. So what do you value most about your job? And you could have those in a ranking if you wanted to change from that format. You put in things about their job satisfaction, support you get from coworkers. Have you shared any concerns about your coworkers with your supervisor or administrator? Working conditions, what do you feel about your working conditions? Compensation and benefits, how you feel about those particular elements in your employment. District communications, do you feel that you get information from the administrative staff and the school board? Are you familiar with the mission and goals of the organization are, etc.? Human resources, services, and support. So like this one, Mark, I assume you handle most of the human resources functions.
And Lisa. Yep.
And Lisa, so I mean, that can be combined just to central office support. So these vary depending upon the size of institutions. So we've done them for very large school districts with hundreds of employees to others that have 50 to 70 employees. And so various sizes, and some of these questions may change depending upon that. Supervisor support that you get from your principal, superintendent, your food service employee, your food service director, whomever it happens to be. Then, do you work in a classroom with office technologies? This is getting to our IT needs. We get some feedback as to are we satisfying those needs, or are there other mechanisms we can do to deliver that? Tools to the employees, so various things about whether you get the appropriate support in those arenas. If you're a teacher, then there's specific questions that tie into the support that you get with respect to whether it's central office, Board of Education, resources, again, providing for your instruction. Questions about curriculum instruction, service, and support. So how are things going in that particular area? Student disciplinary issue. So this is an issue that's come up in several districts. And again, any of these can be customized, so you can see something, well, I don't know if we want to ask that question, we could plug in something else in place of it. But that's the general framework of it. And training and workplace safety, so as you're going through new initiatives, whether it be educator effectiveness, getting aligned with the Smarter Balance goals, whether it's a new technology directive, if there's some other curriculum changes, you get some feedback from the staff as to whether those are things that are working for you in a training front, and also if you have workplace safety issues, special education teachers feel we are getting adequate support to deal with disruptive pupils, or we're not, you can get some feedback in that arena as well. And the reason why you get some of that specific feedback is because of the way that the report is done. It is broken down into a couple of categories. So the board members, you'll have a copy of this. So first we go through a background as to how the response was done and what kind of survey questions were applied, what your participation rate is, and then amongst that participation rate, you can break down the demographics to know, did your less experienced staff apply at a higher percentage rate than your more experienced staff, or vice versa, so you can mine that data, figure out where people are at on it. There's some summary major findings that come out of the report. Then we'll get specific demographic answers. So what percentage of staff do we have apply and respond from your total number of staff you have in those areas? Whoops. And there'll be graphic ones to demonstrate what's the location, which particular grade levels or buildings that they're in. And then we go through the various result findings. The other thing that can be supplemented to this is, since we've done these for other districts, we can give you some comparative data between other districts in the state, so, and private sector data. So one of the findings that has come up fairly consistently across the board amongst teachers is that over 50% of them in general do not feel secure in their employment. And when we first did this for a couple of districts, they were, well, that's really disheartening. You know, we didn't think that that was going to be the reaction we were going to get. But yet, when you look at the private sector data, it's basically the same. And if we go from district to district, those trend lines tend to be pretty similar. Where we can see things that could be of value of you is, let's say you came out and you were either considerably above the trend line or considerably below the trend line of a particular issue, then you can say, well, what do we have here? Why are we so different on the way that our staff views, let's say, support with disruptive pupils than some of these other districts, whether it's positive and or that's negative. You have that comparative element both to some public school districts and then also in the private sector. So when you go through the report, you can get these particular, the base survey has this kind of information, so you get the raw data. There may be, if you wanted to, so some of the districts ask for this, at an additional fee, they would say, well, do you notice things in our particular employee handbooks or policies that may be contributing to this? You know, is there something in there, so let's say we get to compensation and benefits and staff that rated that either we don't feel competitive. Well, we have salary data, and then we share those to see how our salaries comparative to other school districts. Or similarly with our benefits. If it's a health insurance issue or a sick leave issue in particular. So if something like that got highlighted in the report. Same kind of thing, you get the demographic breakdown by area on the various questions that people ask, while all the time being cognizant of the fact that our real goal is to get people to fill out this survey. And that's the #1 goal. So again, having a somewhat finite universe of questions that goes before that. So again, just again, very simple graphic presentations that you can look at on the various elements as to how employees respond to these various questions. So that's really about it. I don't think I need to walk through each slide. I trust you guys can read them and understand the general sense of this. And if this is something that you find of interest, you might want to spend some time trying to say, well, can you ask this question or this question, or add a couple of questions on. I'll still be mindful of the fact that you really don't want the person to probably spend more than 10 or 15 minutes to fill this out, because if it goes beyond that, you're going to have a very high attrition rate. So we'll just open it up to questions that anyone might have on the process. It can be done very quickly, so whenever you want it to be done. If you do it, I would encourage you to do it at the same time every year, if you're thinking of doing this as an annual basis, or if you want to look at it every other year at the same time as well. Because before I met with a UW professor, I didn't know that there's actually times of the year where surveys come out more positive than others. If you do a survey in December, you're going to generally have higher satisfaction rates.
Right before Christmas break, why not, man?
It's not even a school thing. This is just like everywhere. If you survey in December, you're more apt to get higher results, and if you survey in the first week of February, you tend to go down, even if nothing changes in the organization, just when they do general polling on these. It's a seasonal issue. So that being the case, in order to get that longitudinal piece, you might want to say, well, when do we want to do this? Some districts have said, well, let's do this at the end of the school year, so we can look rearview mirror as to what we did. Others have done it August, September, because the staff doesn't have to be present to do this. However, for some of your support staff personnel, Personally, I think it probably makes sense to do it during the school year, because I don't know if all your support staff personnel have access to a district email account year-round that they would go and check. You know, it might vary from staff person to staff person. Your paraprofessional might be thinking of logging in July when he or she is actively engaged in summer school or some other activity at that time. So that's the quick and dirty on it. Questions that you have about it?
So did we do some kind of a survey a year or two ago?
That was the call, well, they did UW, that was, so we did the call survey with UW 2 years ago, and that was per building.
And that was a kind of satisfaction
Yeah,
based thing too?
yeah. So, I mean, the call survey would be another option.
What's the typical cost of this?
The base one here is $500 as a flat fee. And they told Mark, we can substitute questions in and out, and we still say that $500 fee. The thing is, we've had some districts afterwards, they wanted the comparison information to other school districts and private sector data. Some boards have actually even requested after the survey is done to have a meeting, and have one of us come out and kind of give, this is our perspective of what this means. Because of the fact that we see what's going on in a large number of school districts, we're using that job security example. You know, if I'm a board member, I see that, I go, wow, 62% of my job don't feel, or staff don't feel secure in my employment. What are we doing wrong? And we've had a lot of tumult in educational funding, we've had changes in handbook provisions from contracts, and then we have, even in the private sector, as we claw out of this recession, there's just a sentiment that's out there right across the board. So, but if you just saw that number in isolation, you might go, well, that's big. That's a big number. At the same time, you might look and think, well, we might have an idea of what staff persons view as their priorities. And that has changed from district to district. We don't see the same results. Not like salary ends up on the top at every district. And same thing with working conditions. There's some where the working conditions, you'll have very, very high satisfaction rates, and even potentially districts that's geographically proximate, they're quite different. And what's the foundation behind that? Or you see one building, one middle school, and you're saying, well, what's happened in the middle schools, working conditions that it looks so dissimilar from the others. But every district's unique when the way that they look at things, but I think it provides data back to the board to go, okay, how are we explaining why we're doing what we're doing, and how is it being received through this? And other than obviously soliciting other forms of feedback with people who talk at board meetings or board meetings and board meetings and our instruction.
Tom was talking about something similar to this, I think, Sue, weren't you? As far as a questionnaire or employee satisfaction previously, this is what you're talking about?
Yes,
Okay.
exactly.
I had researched it at the state convention, and I kind of shared some information, and we were able to come up here.
I mean, it sounds reasonable. It's a third party that makes it, credible.
Yeah, we don't.
A la carte on top of that, the information you're talking about as far as having a meeting where you study the trend and say, this is what we see in your district.
Right, that's an add-on, but the basic data you can have in your business official had it at this preceding district, when the district there decided to have a meeting to walk through it because their results in one particular area were different than probably how the other districts in the area were, so the board wanted to know. What insight do you have as to why that might be the case in some of our plans?
So when this is done, do we have access to the raw data?
Yeah, you get all the numbers in. The only thing you won't get is the IP addresses. And that's part of the reason why when we set this up, modeling it off of what the Texas School Board Association had created, was that response goes through, we're hosting it, so you'll get the raw data and you'll get all this report and all the number breakdowns as to how people replied on everything. But you wouldn't know that IP address 42191, et cetera, gave that answer. And that's again so that staff knows that this is a confidential survey, so I have some sense that I can be frank on this, and it's not going to be mined by our IT staff to figure out, well, that came from a laptop with this address. And Because theoretically, people could do this on their break periods or on their mobile device or whatever happens to be. So anything, it's a web-based application, so you can access it anywhere.
Any more questions?
Do we get to look at the survey questions first before we? At what point do we get to look at the survey questions and say, yeah, let's go?
Prior to, yeah, you have all the sample ones, and then you could, so the ones that are in the handout, and then you could look and say, what do I want to add or subtract from them, and then we would just add those into the document. So what you have right there is the sample base, those are the sample base answers.
Answers, correct. I'm wondering if we could see the questions.
Yeah, I have the questions on this as well. This is this document, and so it just looks like this. So it basically has the same, where you've got the aggregate data there. All it does is just ask that strongly disagree, opinion, agree, strongly agree. That's it.
You're asking, can we preview, the board
Can we
preview it before we send it out?
Oh, absolutely,
Yeah.
absolutely. It's your survey. So when you look at it, we'll send you a rough draft.
Mhm.
Then you'll look at that and say, I would like to supplement it with
That's what I'm
additional
saying. If we have
questions.
another question we wanted to ask.
Right.
we could-
Is it, or can you take that one out, or can you rephrase that? So these things are fluid. The only thing that, again, this is based on even this is pushing the envelope for when we worked with the professor on it, the statistician. He was just like, you gotta be cognizant of the total number of questions, because they just have a major dropout point. So you may look at it and say, hey, we don't need as many demographic questions because of our size. So you might compact that area, which frees up some space in some other areas.
Yeah, I agree with them. There, I get surveys all the time in my business. When they're 40 minutes long, it's like, forget you.
Yeah.
It's very annoying.
Do you generally have like a master list of questions that they pick and choose from, or is that?
This
that
is
right there?
it. This is it.
Okay.
This is it. So the results you have are the master list, that you can either say, take some of these out, or you as a group might say, you know what, we have this new initiative coming up. We'd really like to ask them what they think of X, you know, whatever it happens to be. You know, it might even be a curriculum change that you're contemplating doing. You know, what do you think of virtual schooling, or whatever, web-based, or one-on-one initiatives? You guys doing a one-on-one technology? So you might ask some question of that with the tech support. If the board was interested in a one-on-one initiative where the student has his or her own technological device, what would that mean for you? You know, so you can add whatever you want into it if you got a specific thing that you think, I'd really like to find out what they think about X right now. Anything else?
So it's possible to get this for the teaching staff and then the support staff?
You could do it separately. Every time we've done it staff as a whole in the whole district. Now, you can disaggregate all the data, so we will know how the teachers responded differently from support personnel or administration, you know, the staff that have.
I think it's very intriguing. And this seems to be what everybody's wanting, you know, to see what staff's doing. It'd be worthwhile to try, and, you know, we can tailor it, you know, every year, every other year, as he suggests.
It's Christmas.
Huh? Yeah. Got Christmas coming up. Summer. Everybody's getting out. Quick, fill it out and get out of here. Any more discussion on it? I think.
The normative data piece is gonna be a pretty important thing, as to kind of mention that, it's gonna be important key to that, to have it normalized versus other groups, whether it be private sector, public sector.
Yes.
Because,
Yes.
yeah, you don't want things being skewed for, you know, without having a baseline, or at least like a.
Right. Or have a global look at it. Correct. Yeah, I agree. I agree. We can move on. If somebody so inclines to.
Well, thank you.
Thank you very much.
more that we could add to it, but I would say for sure that we'd like to ask questions of our employees
Mhm.
and get a direction. We just need to say go ahead and then at some point pick a date later on. Or
Yeah.
is a date necessary? right
Well, I would imagine they're gonna wanna go through the questions, and then we pick a date of when to have the survey done. And then you will go.
I would suggest that we have a personnel relations, whatever we call it these days, committee, put together a list of questions.
They would like to see you. You're talking about the employee relations committee or PR? Employee relations. Okay. Why don't we ask the employee relations committee, who is, if you have a conversation on it?
You want us to come up with the questions or,
Look at them and see if there's any other ones that you think that we need, and if anybody has any questions, that you know, and you can put it all in the next little list for me.
Before we move
Yes.
to okay it, yes, I got you. That sounds like a good idea.
Well, I don't know if we need to. I would be ready to go back to doing it.
We can do that tonight if you want.
Okay.
That's why I'm
I
asking.
move that we do the employee satisfaction survey.
We have a second.
Survey, whatever we're going to call it.
Isaiah seconds it. Any more discussion on it? Seeing none, Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, B, discuss possible action on making up 2 hours of instruction on the last day of the 2013-14 school year. 2 hours, huh?
2 hours is what we need. And, you know, again, you do not have, you can just discuss this tonight, you want to think about it, but one of the concepts is during our early releases, we do not serve lunch. That is impacting us, so this will be a way to demo it out. And are there other options? Yes, we could extend, you know, class by, you know, the school day by a minute for the rest of the year, some type of calculation, but another way of doing it, you know, kind of, you know, what I'm suggesting, I guess, is at the end, it's kind of what we talked about, but I also wanted to check in, but then we'd serve lunch on the last day.
So the last day, that's where you're gonna make up your 2 hours?
Yeah, it'll look different at the high school and at the middle school and elementary schools. Generally, that's a makeup day.
What are the 2 full days we're making up?
We're making up Friday, June 6th, that instead of being a partial day, that becomes a full day. And then the 9th, and then the 10th is the partial. We just add 2 hours to that.
So instead of 1:25 and 1:45, it'll be 2 hours later? Is that the way I'm reading that?
Instead of 11:25 and 11:45.
It'll be
it would
1:25.
and 1:40.
Oh, I got you.
So you just
Yep.
serve lunch and then, okay. I like that idea.
Yeah. Seems to make sense. That again, we can entertain a motion on that.
I would move that we make up our 2 hours on June 10th. Serve lunch. Second for this year.
Second, any more discussion? Seeing none, Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yep.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Alrighty, motion to accept the resignation of Danielle. Yep, Danielle King as drama director, non-musical, with thanks for service since 2013.
So moved.
Have a second. Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. We have a motion to accept the resignation of Danielle King as assistant musical director with thanks for service since 2013.
Second.
Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. We have a motion to hire Zach Colby as assistant golf coach with starting annual stipend of $1,800 prorated for the mid-season start.
Second.
We got a good block going. Any more discussion?
I'm missing my hand.
Yeah. Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes. All right, an action to
Move to hire Vivian Heathrow as Director of Pupil Services with a starting salary of $83,000.
a second. Any more discussion? Fill in any more on the public, or we're pretty good? Okay. Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Move to hire Amy Vesperman as Director of Curriculum and Instruction with a starting salary of $82,000.
Second. Any more discussion?
Very vivacious woman.
Yeah. Yes. Very go-getting and seems to know a lot. Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Move to hire Amelia Lemansky Haas as the middle school, high school AV coordinator with a starting stipend of $1,800 prorated for a mid-year start.
And a second.
Second.
Any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. And a motion to hire high school assistant track and field coach. Whoa. I missed
Sarah
these pages.
Lazarescu. With a starting salary of $2,100.
You're making the motion.
Yeah.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Tim, second. Any more discussion? It's a separate page, right? That's what I'm
It's-
Okay, any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
And I'll vote yes.
Move to appoint
Athletics.
Hannah Sutcliffe as a volunteer coach for softball.
Do I have a second?
Second.
More discussion?
How many kids do we have for softball? How many ladies do we have for softball?
I believe the number is, I think it's closer to 12 right now. It's been as high as 14.
Last I heard was 11 with a new one, so it's right. It's close.
Cool. Any more discussion?
Can't bitch about playing then.
No. Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes.
Move to approve the cooperative team sponsorship for Bearville for girls hockey.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Discussion? We have
It's my understanding that we're paying for one student, correct? Is that what it is?
Only if she decides to play.
Yeah.
Well, yeah. If she decides to play, so.
Oh, this is just in case of,
Yep.
okay. Any more discussion on it? Sue?
Yeah.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Student
Move to
issues.
approve the overnight field trip for the middle school student council.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
It's close.
Hmm?
It's close.
Yeah, it's,
Madison area.
oh, yeah. Yeah? Seeing any more discussion? Sue?
Yes.
Sandy?
Yes.
Isaiah?
Yes.
Kim?
Yes.
I'll vote yes. Food service update.
So, kind of 3 areas, just update on the program this year, and Aaron, if you want to add anything, just let me know. But with Randy, thank you to Randy and Aaron for helping out on this. So, just talk about meals, summary, changes in the program since Togger began working with our district, and then future decisions. Right now, we are serving 500 meals a day. At the beginning of the year, we were serving 300. So, a pretty significant change. Last year, we served 61,236 meals. If we use the 3 months, December through February, projecting out that would be upwards of 87,500 meals. So significant difference. I'll say this a couple times. Keep in mind there's 3 types of meals. There's free meals, compensated by the federal government. There's reduced, and then there's full price meals. One of the things that took a little figuring, but the reality part of our deficit issue is we serve a lot of free and reduced meals, which is great, but it makes it more difficult to make up a difference in cost. And so last year we sold 35,000 full price meals. So if you were to increase those meals by 10 cents, that would be an increase of $3,500. So you can't look at your total amount where you'd like to say, 61,000 times 10, okay, that gets us $6,100. So that's a little bit of our challenge here, because again, the only way we can do that is if we increase costs, the only way we make money is by full price meals. The other thing to keep in mind, this is a conservative estimate, but we'll probably be reducing. Right now, our model projects that we'll have 4% fewer students, or 3.6 to be exact, than we had this year. So forecasting out next year, 480 would be like 500 this year. Now, what have we done? As you can tell, we've had a dramatic increase, and I think people are happy with the food and the quality of the meals. But the 40% increase has necessitated additional staffing. Regular training has occurred. They do this on the early release days. This will continue to happen. The Safe Serve certification, we still have one more employee that needs to get certified, but otherwise that was very significant. That was a grueling 8.5-hour day. I give our staff a lot of credit for that. Safe Serve requires if the kitchen is in use, a person has to be there. A person has to be safe served. So we're working on that. We've also had chef days. I know there'll be a day coming in April, I believe, up to the middle school, high school. And the other thing that's going to be changes is predicting out the changes in the federal expectations. And talk to Tara a little bit. They're working on things, but they're trying their best, but it's a challenge. How will this impact Wisconsin Heights? The a la carte, ours isn't that big, but if it is implemented as written, that would mean fewer a la carte. It also means no fundraising that includes any candy. It's,
Bake sales?
Bake sales,
No
concession stands, nope, gone. So it's substantially different, period. And so we'll keep you updated. It's something that we've been watching, and at times with other federal initiatives, we wonder if maybe we'll get pushed out a year, but we're not hearing anything right now to that extent. So future decisions, like I shared, 35,000 paid meals would equate to an increase of 3,500, 20-cent increase, 7,000, 30-cent increase, which would get us to 295, would be 10,000, and 40% would get us to 305. Right now, it's not like per meal. But it's pretty hard to find, to go out to eat and get a meal for 305, understanding that people can choose, and we respect people's choices to bring their bag lunch or leftovers, all those things. But 40 cents only increases the close, that would raise $14,000 in revenue. Last year we had a deficit of 18,000, so it's a challenge, but tough decisions ahead. I just wanted to provide the update. Think about it. If there's questions you have, go from there, but something we need to talk about.
Questions? That'll be coming back.
Right, I just wanted to update you, and we can. Yeah, the biggest thing we learned, and we'll have some firmer numbers from the business department in the next couple of weeks, but we're just talking about scenarios. But it's, again, we need to increase prices. We haven't for a while, but we have a better quality, so we feel better about
Big time.
So, things to think about, and, you know, if you have questions, we'll go from there, but I know it's a big topic.
Okay. Future meetings and important dates. We need to set any committee meetings?
Policy. Well, we can not get the next, probably, when is the next meeting, or 2?
28th,
And then after that, since you just,
12th.
gotcha. All right, so April 28th?
The one thing I'd point out, Isaiah, is that with board reorganization, oftentimes, we don't meet until we know who's on the committees.
This is true.
I'm not trying to.
No,
No, that makes sense, that makes sense.
Let's see what happens. And
Yep.
we go from there. So,
TBA.
to be announced. We got the curriculum committee
Yeah.
on April 14th.
CPI has come out, it's 1.46 for this year.
Okay.
So the Employee Relations Committee, you know, I've talked to union representation, and we haven't talked specific dates, but we're, you know, the agreement is that we would send communication to each other within 30 days of the CPI being announced. So
Okay. Okay.
that's for base wage negotiation.
Got another committee meeting then. Hey, don't feel bad. Building grounds was like that for a while.
Yeah, and we probably should schedule one of
Oh,
those too,
Well,
just to finalize summer projects, and,
yeah, okay.
you know, we're still looking at start date. I still chuckle that they want to start roofing at April 1, but, you know, start date is projected at May 1, we're still waiting for a couple.
That's
drawings.
Fool's joke.
No, they were serious, so.
Okay. Other than that, I guess I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Sorry.
All in favor? Aye. Thank you all for coming.